The Hayley O Show. Every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Only on bulls.co.za.
All right, so up next, we're going to be having Seth Hulley on the line, who I said was an ex-pro surfer. He won the World Junior Pro. He won the Billabong Pro. He really is a great South African surfer that's retired now and working as a sports marketing manager for Oakley. So let's catch up with him. Seth, you're live on the Hayley O Show. How are you?
All right, in yourself, Hayley.
Good, thanks. Thank you so much for putting some time aside for us. It sounds like you've got a pretty hectic life at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty busy at the moment. Being in Los Angeles last week for the Hurley Pro, and then this week back into Jeffreys Bay, and then off to Hawaii next week for Ironman and Kona.
Crazy. I thought surfers were supposed to be really like relaxed and chilled out. I mean, that doesn't seem to be the lifestyle you're leading.
No, not that. When I was a pro surfer on the World Tour, it was busy traveling. But now, being sports marketing manager at Oakley, you obviously have to I focus on all the sports. So it's not just about surfing anymore. It's about following our tier one sports and servicing the athletes. You know, our tier one sports being mountain bike, cycling, surf, golf, and cricket. So my interests have diversified into those sports because it's part of what I do as a job now.
Okay, so those are the main sports that Oakley's focus on. Maybe just repeat those for us. It was mountain biking, surfing,
cycling, and golf, and cricket. So,
all right. Those are your biggies.
Oakley in America give us Oakley in America give us guidance as to what our target sports are. But we change them to suit our region slightly. You know, like America doesn't have cricket, but we've got cricket here, so that's our focus with the players play on the field in our eyewear, and it's a good protective eyewear that they're wearing as well. You know, standing all day in the sun.
Sure.
So yeah, those are the main sports, and then we've got tier 2 sports of like track and field, running, motorsports, which is motocross and rally. So basically the 2 and 4 wheel sports. So those would be a tier 2 sport. And then the tier 3 sport that we're involved in would be like the rugby, because the players don't play in our product, but there's some very high-profile players that are good to be seen in your product off the field, you know?
Sure. So I mean, is there any sport that Oakley isn't involved in or that Oakley still wants to break into? I mean, I can't think of any high-profile sportsmen that you don't see wearing Oakleys.
Yeah, we kind of just make sure we focus on our sports, and we try and claim on our target sports, and we try and claim the best athletes in each of those sports. You know, mainly sports that where the athletes are wearing our products. So those are sports we focus most on. You know, so yeah, so we just try and that's our job in sports marketing, is to have this relationship with the athletes where you're always in touch with them, you're always getting them the latest product. And you're making sure that they're happy with the service that you're providing for them, you know, and they're happy with the product that they're wearing. Like, for instance, now I'll go back. I'm on my way back to Cape Town. Now I'll go to the hotel this evening and supply our rugby guys, Willem, Bismarck, Yanni, Brian Abana, with some of the latest Oakley product, because I haven't seen those guys in a while, and they're playing the test match against Australia tomorrow. So I'll just go and make sure I say hi to them, catch up with them briefly at the hotel, and they'll be all set to go in the new product before they head off up to Pretoria for next weekend's game.
Sure, that's nice. And do these sportsmen get excited about getting these free latest edition glasses, or is it kind of like standard to them that they get all this latest gear?
No, they're very appreciative, especially if someone appreciates the brand and they like the Oakley brand. They appreciate getting this new product, you know. So it's great that someone, you know, I always say, like, I'll never endorse a brand I don't believe in. So obviously these guys totally believe in the brand because they're endorsing it, and you know it's always a good sign, you know.
Sure. And so with your tier 2 sports, you hope that the players will wear the glasses when they're off the field or out, you know, socially or casually.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of my sponsorships here in South Africa is product-based sponsorship. We probably pay 20% of our athletes a retainer. Those would be the top guys, and like for example, Jordy Smith in surf. He's one of our top elite athletes.
Sure.
and he would get paid a retainer as well as like a Greg Minnaar in the world of mountain bike, the downhill world champion.
Yes.
And then also our second tier would obviously be triathlon here, which Richard Murray is one of our guys, and we also pay Richard a retainer, but he's also one of the top, he's fifth in the world. He ended up fifth in the world after the series this year, so these are world beaters. Those are the guys that
the real
really,
top guys.
We put a lot of emphasis on with advertising campaigns around, and for example.
And are any of these sportsmen difficult to deal with? I mean, do you feel do you have any stories?
Yeah, no, it's the top guys. You always get there's certain guys that can't get enough product. That always. But the most of the guys, they're pretty. They're pretty straight down the line. They're very appreciative with the product you give them. Some of them think that there's a bottomless pit of them, don't realize that there is a budget that we've got to work to, sometimes. But all good.
Okay. And obviously you've got to choose guys that will represent your brand well. Was Lance wearing Oakleys when the whole scandal went down?
Yes, he was. I mean, we backed Lance all through his cancer and coming back into the sport. So Oakley stood by Lance from day one. And, that whole scandal, it definitely hurt the brand. But, you just got to pick up the ball and move forward.
So is Oakley still sponsoring Lance?
No. We've cut our ties with Lance.
Not anymore. Okay. And now you mentioned Geordie. You mentioned Geordie Smith, and I think he's what, second or third in the world, and I don't think he gets nearly enough airtime in South Africa. Maybe just because surfing isn't such a big sport here. But I mean,
correct.
You obviously deal with him quite a lot. I mean, what's he like?
No, Geordie's a very down-to-earth guy. I know his parents very well because from when I was back in the surfing days, when I was surfing professionally, Geordie was like a little kid. And I was just with Geordie last week at Hayley Pro and Trestles, and he's lying number 3 in the world at the moment. And, unfortunately, in South Africa, it's a very performance sport-driven country that we live in. So the action sports seem to not get the exposure that they do. If someone as high profile as Geordie or someone as high profile as Greg Minnaar, they definitely don't get the reward back in South Africa on like a amount of exposure as what they should get, whereas they're so big globally, but yet in South Africa, there's not many people that know about them,
And
so it is, sorry?
No, carry on.
No, I was going to say, so it's important that these guys work with their publicists to try and push it to our media so they get the exposure that they do.
Sure. And have you seen Geordie at any of his competitions? I know you were in LA recently. I mean, is he hugely respected overseas and when he's competing? Does he have fans that line the beaches to watch him?
Definitely. The kids, Geordie is so good for our brand globally because he transcends all markets. I see some of the Brazilian surfers, they don't really transcend the American and the Australian market. They're damn good surfers in that. But with someone like a Geordie, he's a South African base, but he transcends all markets. He's got kids every time he comes out the water, no matter what event it is, wherever it is on the planet, he's got kids waiting for his autograph. So he has a huge following, and he's well respected amongst his competitors on the world tour because Geordie's big for a surfer. He's probably like 6'3", probably like 90 kilograms, and he's big for a surfer. So he's got a lot of power, and that's actually a plus. That's actually in his favor because when it comes to surfing, he throws up a lot more spray. He's got a big aerial game, and he's got an all-round act.
Yeah, no, I definitely think more South Africans should know about his success. But tell me now, Seth, to me it sounds like you have the perfect job. Do you love it? Is this what you imagined yourself doing when you were surfing?
Well, my association with Oakley goes back to 1992. I won the World Pro Junior in Australia, and I picked Oakley up as a sponsor at that event in Bells Beach out of Australia. Then later that year, the brand came to South Africa, and I continued on the relationship with Oakley throughout my pro surfing career as a sponsored athlete. And when I finished school, I just knew I wanted to be a pro surfer, but I didn't think further than being a pro surfer. And It just so worked out that the opportunity came where once I'd retired from world surfing, I could work. Oakley offered me a job. So I looked after the action sports for Oakley initially, and that started in 2001. And now I became sports marketing manager probably 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So, and it's a great job. I mean, it's a lot of traveling, so it's a lot of time away from your family, which
Sure.
I've got 2 young kids of 5 and 7. And that's the only downside is when I don't get to see the kids, But other than that, I mean, I love my job because it's the next best thing to being a professional athlete yourself, because you're still dealing with all those sports.
With athletes, yeah, and with sporting. And would you say you've got a career highlight, maybe meeting a specific athlete? Even though you've met them all now, so maybe they're all the same to you.
I think also in our job, you kind of got to be, you can't really be too big a fan of these guys. I mean,
Sure.
they're just people at the end of the day, but you got the utmost respect for what they do and but they actually become your friends as well, So I think just working with guys like in the past, like with John Smith, he's like an ultimate, he's a hero to many, and he's just such a great ambassador for South Africa and for a sports person, and he's become a good friend of mine as well, and you just respect those type of people, and those are the relationships that you formed, and you cherish,
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good to hear. And Seth, do you still surf when you get it? If you ever do get a bit of free time?
Oh, totally. I try and get in the water about 3 or 4 times a week. So living in Cape Town, surfing in Cape Town is very difficult compared to Durban because it's nice and warm there.
Yeah.
But I still try and get in the water. I think it keeps me sane, So getting in the water, getting a few waves. Like I was just in Jeffrey's Bay now for the Hayley SA Junior Champs. The Oakley was the official Irish sponsor, and I actually kind of out there had a surf with a few of the kids and that. And it's actually good to get stuck in amongst it. And the kids it was quite impressive to see how they're coming on.
Oh, nice. So you could always be a teacher if you wanted to get out of the.
A lot of the guys when they quit the tour, some of them go into surf coaching and that. So I also, obviously, because surfing is my strong point, because that's the background I came from. It's always good to offer some advice to the younger surfers, and I even give some advice to our younger sponsored athletes yesterday at the event. Just to try and put them on the right track, and if you see if they're doing anything wrong, you just try and rectify some of the errors. But a lot of them have coaches that they do work with.
I'm sure they'd love it coming from you. And tell me, Seth, I was saying earlier in the show how I actually came to meet you. It was by Googling South Africa's sexiest sportsman. So I have to ask you, do you still do any modeling, or is there not really time for that, or is it family man now?
No, family man, not really much into that anymore. I just did it for a small phase, of the transition phase actually when I left the World Surf Tour, and before I started actually at Oakley, I did a couple of odd jobs to try and get some income coming in. But just focusing on my job at hand, and also if you're working and representing Oakley as a brand, you can't be promoting other brands that are conflicting in any way. So that's kind of why I opt out of doing any shoots for other brands, because it could be a conflict of interest there.
Of course. Well, I'm so glad I did come into contact with you, and I just find that the work that you're doing is really interesting and different, and certainly interesting for our listeners that are all sports fans. And it's always interesting to see what professional sportsmen go into once they retired from professional sport. And all of us here at Balls are big Oakley fans, so I'm glad we got in touch, and hopefully we'll follow your progress in the next little while.
No, great. It's been great to chat with Balls Radio, and I've heard, obviously through Darren Scott and you guys, I heard a lot about you guys. It's great to be in touch with you guys as well.
Cool.
So I'm sure we'll be in touch more often.
And you're off to Hawaii now?
Yes, I leave on Wednesday to Hawaii, to Kona, and I'll be there for a week and a half. We have our Oakley Safe House there where the athletes can come and relax and get their latest Oakley products, and they can have media, they can meet with the media at the Safe House. So we're just there to host the athletes and that. So that'll be great. I'll be back mid-October from that event.
Wow, I know a lot of triathletes that would be green with jealousy hearing about you going to Kona.
I know. I had a lot of them saying to me, isn't there room in the bag for me?
Exactly. Well, safe travels back from J-Bay, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Hayley. Look after yourself. Have a good one.
Okay.
Enjoy the weekend and go Boca.
Go Boca, yes. Thanks, Seth. Drive safe.
Yeah.
Cheers, bye.
People.
Right, so that was pro surfer and now sports marketing manager for Oakley Sunglasses there on the line, driving back from J-Bay. Seth Hulley, one of our past pro surfers and one of our past sexiest sportsmen as well. So nice to make contact with him on the Hayley O Show.
The Hayley O Show. Every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Only on bulls.co.za.